Right next to the Colosseum is a ruin most people barely notice. It doesn't look like much, just a pile of Roman bricks. But this is believed to be the remains of the great gladiatorial school of Rome, the Ludus Magnus. Like most ruins, there's no inscription telling us what it was, so how do archaeologists know? If we look at it from above, it starts to reveal interesting clues. We can see a curved structure, and if we follow that curve, it forms an ellipse, like a gladiatorial arena. But it's not just an arena, it's part of a larger complex. The square rooms facing it appear to be connected to it, and if that pattern continues around the arena, we can reconstruct the floor plan. This kind of floor plan suggests it was not an arena meant for shows, but a training complex. This is a reconstruction of what it might have looked like. The arena had limited seating, and the rectangular complex likely had living quarters for the gladiators and support facilities such as kitchens and storerooms. Ancient Roman writers mention the Ludus Magnus, but they don't tell us exactly where it was. To be clear, this ruin was not always exposed. It was discovered in 1937 during the Mussolini era and only excavated later in the 50s. When it was excavated, they discovered a layout that closely resembled a building they've known about for a long time, from a different source. In Imperial Rome, there existed a huge marble map of the city that was hung on a wall in a public building. It's called the Forma Urbis, and it's from the period of Emperor Septimius Severus in the early 200s. It was a highly detailed map that labeled many of Rome's monuments. Unfortunately, only about 10% of it survives. Most of it was lost, likely burnt for lime during the Middle Ages, but pieces of it began to be rediscovered in the Renaissance. Here we see a diagram showing the surviving marble fragments. It's like a puzzle with most of the pieces missing, but scholars could place them in their most likely positions based on labeled fragments, recognizable floor plans, scale, and knowledge of Rome's ancient layout. Among the surviving fragments is the Ludus Magnus, clearly labeled, so it was known about from the marble map long before the ruin was discovered in 1937. They just didn't know where it was. It's this floor plan on the marble map that closely resembles the layout of the excavated ruin. But there were other gladiatorial schools in Rome. They were mentioned by ancient sources and are thought to be buried in this general area. So how do we know that this is the Ludus Magnus? That's where scale comes in. The Forma Urbis is known to have a scale of 1 to 240, so every centimeter on the map represents about 2.4 meters in real life. Here we have photos of the Ludus Magnus fragments on the bottom left. Notice how scholars continue the elliptical line of the arena where pieces are missing. And on the bottom right, we have a scale. If we put the scale next to the arena, it measures about 30 centimeters long. So at a ratio of 1 to 240, this should be about 70 meters in real life. And if we extend the rows of square rooms across the long sides, we get 17 rooms. When I measured the excavated arena on Google Maps, it also came out to be about 70 meters long. And I confirmed 17 rooms across the long side. So this must be the Ludus Magnus from the marble map. The floor plan and proportions are similar, and the scale matches. The geographical context supports this as well. It makes sense to have a gladiatorial school where they trained, right next to the Colosseum where they fought. There's also archaeological evidence suggesting an underground passage between the two buildings. All this evidence stacks up and gives archaeologists the confidence to identify it and to place the pieces of the marble map in their most likely positions. If we look at this diagram again, oriented north to south, and zoom in, we can see that the Ludus Magnus was placed accordingly, just east of the Colosseum, whose fragments also survived. To make you appreciate this kind of triangulation involved in reconstructing the marble map, take a look at these fragments, labeled Templum Divi Claudi, the temple of the deified Claudius. This was a massive temple complex to Emperor Claudius, known to have stood on the Caelian hill just south of the Colosseum. Parts of its huge platform still survive today. So when fragments of the marble map identified this temple, scholars could use it as another anchor point when reconstructing the Forma Urbis. Archaeology can't always give absolute certainty, but it can build strong confidence when multiple pieces of evidence point to the same conclusion. And the Ludus Magnus can show us other things about Rome. Because only part of the structure is exposed, and the rest continues beneath the modern streets, it gives us a clear picture of how modern Rome covers the ancient city beneath it. This site also shows how much higher the modern city is. Down here is only the level to which they excavated, but the ancient ground level was probably lower, and in many parts of Rome, it's much deeper. It makes you wonder just how much is still buried beneath the city. Buildings, mosaics, frescoes, inscriptions, things that will be buried forever. Rome hides much of its past, and the Ludus Magnus makes that easy to see. It may look like an unremarkable ruin, but it's an important piece of history, sitting quietly and humbly under the shadow of the mighty Colosseum. Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed this short video. My name is Jordan, I'm the creator behind Street Gems. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of the format of this video. Please subscribe to my channel, and if you'd like to see other Gladiator related content, check out some of these other videos on my channel.